So the dog said that so the dog said something.
It is really not for the government only, but it is also for the people.
What do you mean? I thought that the government, that democracy is by the people, for the people. Hell no!
Welcome back to the second episode of
Pag-usapan NaTEEN Yan.
I am Carla Mendoza,
I am Zaira Palio.
I'm JD Maisa.
and together we delve into the social issues affecting today's teens. So join us as we venture into today's topic, which is freedom of speech.
Hey, you think it's too dark?
You can't say that.
It's just I can't.
So first of all, what is freedom of speech? According to the Merriam-Webster, freedom of speech is the right to express one's opinions or thoughts freely without interference. So for you, what is freedom of speech?
Yeah, then what you have, just as what you have said, freedom of speech is the right to express your thoughts, your ideas, and just like for example, freedom of speech is actually very important in our lives. Just as how the 1987 Philippine Constitution has said, Article 3, Section 4 Bill of Rights, is that no law shall be passed abridging the freedom of speech, of expression, or of the press, but and so on. But for me, I think freedom of speech really is not absolute. So what about you, JB?
Well, for me personally, I can't provide a similar example like what Zaira said. But for me, freedom of speech is a right that people have to say whatever they want without government punishment or government control. Like, for example, I can say that this person stinks or this person is too ugly, that without the government punishing for it. That.
Okay, so freedom of speech is a right given to us. It is recognized by the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the international laws by the United Nations. So, is there a limit to freedom of speech? What could you say, JP?
So, me personally, yes, there is a limit to freedom of speech, but that limit is defined. It's defined when the right to free speech is passed, is broken. For example, you can say something that's offensive, but saying something that already harms the rights of others, that's past freedom of speech already.
Okay, so how about you, Zaira?
Okay, so we have the same point here.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, freedom of speech really has to have limitation, because when it violates the right of other people, or for example, just as what you have said, like what did you say then? That.
That's offensive, but
Yeah,
another thing, it harms the right of other people.
Yeah, because we have this boundary with legal and also ethic. Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we have to draw the line somewhere.
So, can you both give me an example where we should draw the line to freedom of speech? Starting with you, JP.
Okay, yeah. So, for example, since I have freedom of speech, and I'll use it to incite violence. For example, like start a riot or kill this person, something like that. That's already reaching my boundary towards freedom of speech. Yeah, because just because you don't like this particular person or something like that, doesn't mean you have the right to say that their rights should be taken as well.
Alright, thank you. How about you, Zaira? About an example of where we limit freedom of speech, where we draw the line.
Yeah, so where should we draw the line, right? Freedom of speech. I think we should draw that, like, for example, we should draw the line where someone is actually affected. So, like, between ethics and legality, because, for example, I'm gonna tell someone that, oh, you're so dark. My dog doesn't like you because you're not white enough. I mean, I think we should draw the line there, okay?
Okay.
Because it is, freedom of speech is not absolute. I mean, freedom of speech is good. But when it goes too far, that really,
Like ethical reasons,
yeah, for ethical reasons.
not legal.
Well, at some point, there are actually laws that covers people protect people from discrimination and all of that. So freedom of speech is really not absolute freedom.
But what's discrimination about saying that you're dark?
No,
What's
sure.
discrimination in that?
Actually, it is the way, it is how you put it into context, because someone could say, like, my dog doesn't like you because you're too dark. So, like, it's placing some boundaries, or like, no, it's not. No, not really boundary, but what could be different? Divide.
Social division.
Yeah, division. Because what's wrong why does your dog or anyone's dog doesn't like him or her when, it is, why?
But that's a dog. How can a dog violate human rights?
Yeah, but it's just an example, okay? So,
Okay.
yeah, we're putting it into context. For example, a human being says that, I don't like you, you're dark.
Okay, yeah, that's violating human rights because that's a human doing another thing to a human.
Yeah, but the other human actually said that to other human, or the dog did not really imply.
Okay. Sige.
Okay, so let's summarize this argument. So the dog said that you're.
How can a dog say something?
Okay, so like the owner said that the dog doesn't like the person because he or she is dark. So basically, the owner is the dog's spokesperson.
Yes.
Crazy, bro. Okay, so
Okay.
I think we should delve into the positive and negative sides of freedom of speech.
Okay.
Because freedom of speech can give an impression to other people, and that impression may not be the same to another person. So first, let's delve on the positive sides of freedom of speech. So freedom of speech fosters democracy. What could you say about it?
Yeah, freedom of speech. By having a civil and respectful discussion like what we're having, freedom of speech can foster democracy by giving opposite ideas and opposite beliefs and different views, like what we're doing right now. I'm pro speech and you're anti speech. Yeah, not like that. And by giving us an opportunity to foster our beliefs, it promotes democracy by doing that.
And what could you say about it, Zaire?
Yeah, so in the positive side, freedom of speech actually unites us, right? Because it promotes understanding. Like, there is no, what is that, sugarcoating thing or anything. So
Straightforward.
Yeah, real understanding, and that's probably it.
But not everyone who practices freedom of speech isn't straightforward, man. Most of it. There are times when a person sugarcoats a harsh thing to say towards someone like that, but they're still practicing the right thing.
So, to sum that up, freedom of speech enhances diversity.
Yes.
We share different opinions, maybe through religion or simply from the color we like.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you like red and you like blue. Some people like pink. But its abuse can lead to social division. It's like said. So could you guys give me an example of that? Social division. Because yeah, we have the same opinion. No, we don't have the same opinion. We have different opinions. But you know, it could lead to a situation where there would be social division. Let's say, for example, just like we have exampled in, but just like the example that we shared in the last segment,
Yeah.
the presidential election, because it led to a lot of social division, not just online, but real life. So what can you say about it? Because of course, all of us have, you know, may have different presidential debate. Ganun.
Yes, so an example for it, for the division, right, is, for example, there is misinformation. So like, let's say that I told him or her this and that, but then the reliance, the message relay has not been, well, you know, properly
Put together.
Yeah, put together. So, for example, if that person who received it misunderstood what the other person has said, so it would cause like a division, right? But when we put it in a wider range, like what you said is the political Duterte and Marcos, and then some Marcos supporters would say that Duterte is a drug addict, a word like that. and then the Duterte supporters would say that Marcos is actually no one is drug addict. Like we're just throwing rocks at each other, and that actually just promotes divide.
Promotes division.
So for me, a similar example we got for a political example is when there are two politicians. One politician says that to raise taxes to better the economy, and people don't like that because they like to keep their money. While this other politician, his opponent, says to the public that he'll lower the taxes of the people so that they'll have more money, and that causes a divided society where there are the reasonable people and the people who like to keep their money. I won't say selfish because it's reasonable money to keep to still have more money. But I don't know.
Yeah, considering the economy right now.
Yeah.
But the taxes could go. Taxes return back. The taxes could be returned back because taxes can be used such as infrastructure or maybe for free education for us students to access education. But yeah, it depends on how they use it, right? So, what about in freedom of speech in terms of the government and the people? Because in a world of freedom, in a world where free speech can be weaponized, such as propaganda, such as fake news or deep fake, where they encourage harm, or like for example bomb threats. How can we separate genuine dialogue from that intention, manipulation, or inciting harm?
Okay, so for me, well, the answer is really simple. People just need to be more well-read, more literate about read the news. And so for me, the answer really is simple. People should just be more well-read about the goings on around them, like watch the news or read newspapers, because the real cure for misinformation and propaganda is just being able to know what's going on like that, because misinformation can flourish when the population is well read.
So how about you, Zai?
So yeah, what was it again? I mean,
Where how does freedom of speech today it's so spread, especially with the considerations of technology, where our technology today is much more advanced compared to the past. And it can be used to weaponize, such as propaganda, bomb threats, or other things that could incite harm, not just to one person, but to society. So how could we separate genuine speech from the intentions of harm?
so yeah, I think people should be really educated about it, because ignorance really isn't an option in today's society. Because if we want to survive in this world, I think we should be, JB has said, well read and literate. Because without any further ado, people actually have their decisions, their freedom to think and do what they have to do. But that doesn't mean that that does not come with any responsibilities or accountability. So yeah, we should know that people can do this and can do that. We have many possibilities to go throughout life, and we should just be ready to, evaluate what we can and do what we can do.
I could relate it to science.
Science.
Yeah, Newton's third law of motion. So for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. So we should be, more careful about what we say or what we do in general. So does the concept of freedom of speech imply a duty to listen to others and not just talking about the right to speak? Because with saying something or with speaking, there is also listening. How could you understand the person? How could you understand what he or she is saying without listening? So what could you say about it?
Well, yeah, I think that freedom of speech also includes listening to the opposing side's argument, because how can healthy dialogue flourish if you're not willing to listen to the other side? You're just spewing what you believe at them without theirs being returned back to you.
So, user.
I don't really know about that, because freedom of speech, it does not really, relates to freedom of listening. It's a choice if you would really want to listen or understand the other party. And also, yeah, that's my
Take on it.
it's just a choice.
Just a choice.
It's just a choice, because, for example, freedom of speech, if someone says that you're so ugly, would you really choose to listen to, that?
Fair enough, but why won't you practice your freedom of speech as well and what do you call it? Do a rebuttal, like, no, I'm not. You're the one that's ugly. Like that.
And then
Like
another, that's also a choice, because why would you bother? Right? If
Okay.
that makes sense.
Fair enough.
But, freedom of speech could challenge the status quo.
Yes.
I got
Freedom. But, freedom of speech could challenge the status quo.
that.
The current state of things.
Yeah.
But for you, is it good or not?
What is?
Challenging the status quo. For example, going against the government for something like that. Speaking up.
Well, if the government is unjust, or like the current situation is very unfair, then yes, we have this.
Yeah, speaking of, I actually think that it is good to challenge, well, societal norms, especially when, like, we are in this woke generation, right?
Yeah.
So, there is really various ideas and various kind of stands laid at the table. So, we get to choose, or we get to think or evaluate his and her opinions. So yeah, it is actually an invitation to have more understanding with the other point of views about certain things, like the government. Is the government really doing a good job? Like, why are they posting this and that on their faces right there? Or let's say with the issues of the confidential funds, like it is good to be, knowledgeable about these things, or like question this, because we as a Filipinos, we have also the democracy that does not really just, it is really not for the government only, but it is also for the people. Like
What do you mean? I thought that the government, that democracy is by the people, for the people.
Yeah.
So the government is basically the people.
Yeah, but what about the people they govern? Because they have this power given to them.
Well, the only power that government officials have is the power that people give them. Without the people giving them power, then they have no power.
Yeah, what about when the people do not choose to speak up?
That's a good point. So, you guys, what would you think if the world lacked freedom of speech?
Oh, of course, we'd still be in the Stone Age, because freedom of speech also freedom of speech also fosters ideas. Yeah, freedom of speech fosters ideas, and there's this thing I heard that philosophy is made up of ideas, right? And then mathematics is just applied philosophy, something like that. Was it mathematics or was it science or something like that? But basta, without freedom of speech, ideas can't prosper, and ideas can't be propagated for us to use them. So that's why, in my opinion, without freedom of speech, we'd still be in the Stone Ages, like that.
Point taken.
So for me, I really could not imagine it without life, or whatever this is, without freedom of speech. Yeah, I could not imagine it. Like, if we don't have the freedom, who actually controls it?
Yeah.
Controls what we say. So it's, I don't know, it's staged.
So I think, so what if we reverse? What if freedom of speech was abused?
Yeah, it could be chaos.
Yeah, that's my answer as well. Then it would be to anarchy. Yeah, because if everyone can just say whatever they want without there being any limitations present, then it would be utterly chaos. Then, for example, I'll tell other people to, I don't know if people still do it these days, but like, you know what a lynching is, right? Like, lynching.
Could you elaborate more?
I'm really familiar with that.
Like, for example, I'll go into history for a bit, okay? So, like, for example, in the early 1900s, America, black people who were accused of doing harm were lynched, basically framed up and then murdered, like that. So, for example, if a person tells a group to lynch this person because he's committed crime, and then yeah, it will do it, and then the person dies. So yeah, that's why I think that there would be yes.
So even though the person is innocent.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is the dangers of absolute freedom, right? Because when absolute freedom, you would really would not have a limitation, and that would lead to public no public order at all. So yeah, I get your point. And
Did you say absolute freedom? No, I don't think for me, freedom really isn't absolute.
yeah, that's what I said.
I said
The
that.
dangers of absolute freedom, because there is really
No, freedom isn't
absolute.
freedom isn't entirely absolute, because freedom only stops when the other person's freedom is broken, right?
So, where should the line be drawn between free and hate speech?
When the line should be drawn when the other people or your freedom violates the freedom of the other individuals, because let's say freedom of speech, you say this and that could actually harm someone, or just what you have example, like for example, this person accused him or her or this actually group, so it would lead to an injustice and all. So that's where we should draw the line when it violates the freedom of other people.
So, for me, freedom of speech should end when it starts to violate the rights of others, not because it's offensive. Because for me, I think that offensive speech that doesn't violate rights of people, like let's say to someone like they're ugly, like that, I think that should be protected no matter how offensive it is. But when the speech starts to harm other people's rights, that's where it should end.
So, I just want to share personal experience involving freedom of speech. Because freedom of speech can come in a simple form of bullying. Because in elementary, I was bullied for for something so physical, and it really hurt me. It damaged my self-esteem with that, and it made me overthink. So when we say something, I think we should be really careful about what should
What do you say?
escape from our mouth. Say and put it in simple words. Because, for example, when we say something bad against a person, defamation, in the internet, that could destroy them. Because, have you heard of the saying, words can make or break a person?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we should be more careful with what we say. So, let's draw the common ground of freedom of speech. So, where should the line be drawn?
I said that it should be drawn where it starts to break other people's rights. But however, I think that offensive speech can and must be protected, no matter how offensive it is.
So we should really recognize that this right can be subject to limitations. This is what I said earlier, that when it violates the right or the freedom of other people, then that is where we should draw the line.
And as a student, we're all students.
Yes.
So what do you want to share, or what could you do about it? Freedom of speech. It's we have the access to technology. We just simple click the phones. We could share, we could post something that could harm other people. So what do you want to say to our viewers, our fellow students,
About
about freedom of speech, or about our podcast in general,
Yeah, as a
our
student,
topic in general as a student,
as JP.
as JD myself.
Yeah.
for me as a student, what I could do about it is, practice, engage in discussions relating about freedom of speech, and also practicing friendly dialogue like what we're having now. That because freedom of speech can happen when there is no dialogue. That
So I think we could actually share our knowledge with freedom of speech and its limitations to our peers, especially right now we have these tools like social media and social media platforms like Facebook, YouTube, like podcast, right? And yeah, and before anything else, it would be good to like start the change with yourself. To be careful with what you say, and yeah, be careful with what you say.
So what if someone says something that violates your rights? Would you just let them, or would you say no? That's not good.
I'd be like, hell no, fool. Like that.
What would you do?
Like that.
And tell them no, that's not right.
Yeah.
But like, okay, it's yours. Okay.
Ano ba?
So
Put hands. You want me to put hands on you, fool?
So let's conclude this podcast with that freedom of speech is a right that is granted to us from the moment we were born, from the moment we breathe the oxygen, the air. But that speech could include hate speech, something that could incite harm, something that could be used against you. Because what you say could be used against you after how many years have passed and such. But I would end this podcast with African proverb. I want to end this podcast with an African proverb where it says, all truth is good, but not all truth is good to say.
It's good.
And that's it for freedom of speech.
We hope you learned something from this segment.
Adios!
Yeah, again, really, we're good.
Sige na.